Annette, you have a guest with you. Who's with you?
Oh, yes, Annette has a new one too, Miss Courtney.
Yes, I
Oh,
have Courtney with me.
hey, Courtney.
Yes.
How you doing?
We have several new folks today. That's awesome.
Hi, Emma.
All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and start sharing the presentation screen.
Mhm.
Oh, I will in just a second. Now I will.
Okay. Okay, so I think that we are about ready to begin. It is 10:01. It looks like we have a lot of folks logged in. So welcome everybody. Happy January. Happy New Year. So excited to see all your happy faces on the internet. And we're really looking forward to our get together. So we've got a lot of great information to cover today. But before we do, if everybody could take just a moment to hover over your own little square, and you'll see those three dots in the top corner. If you click on those, you can drop down and rename yourself. So I would like you to put, I'm going to change mine right now to Tony Program Manager, and I'm in my second year. So I'm changing mine. So if you could maybe just put your first name, your school, and what year you are. And that will help all of our new coaches get a sense of where you are in the state and what your experience level is.
It'll also be good for our guest speaker to see that.
Yes. Okay.
I
So
just saw Dana join, so she's here.
Oh, awesome. Great. Our guest speaker is on here too, so that's excellent. All right. The meeting is being recorded, just to let you know that. And when possible, we would like to have your faces when we're in group engagement. If you want to turn your face off at some time later, you can. But we really like to have your face. It helps our speaker see who's out there if they have the opportunity to see the screen. And again, so glad you're here today. So I'm going to begin and just kind of review what our agenda is going to be. So right now we're at the welcome and going over the agenda. We'll have a connection here in just a moment. And for the new folks, we really like to do a connection at the beginning of every meeting because that just kind of breaks the ice and lets us know what's going on in everybody's neck of the woods. And then we're going to have a guest speaker. And today that is Dana Franxman. We're very excited to have her here today. So welcome. If you want to take your mute off for a moment and say, welcome, Dana. We can do that very quickly. So if everybody on
Welcome,
three,
Dana.
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 Welcome.
Thank you. I'm having video difficulties right now, or I would show you myself.
Okay.
But I am here.
Well, we hope to see you in just a few minutes when you're doing your session.
Right, thank you.
After we have our guest speaker, we're going to do a reflection on that, and we break out into little virtual rooms. And that's a nice time just for a small group of people to kind of talk about what they felt about the presentation that we just experienced together. And then we're going to have a break, like a break, where you can go to the restroom or do whatever you need to. And we'll have some guided images in there. That'll be a nice, refreshing time. And then after that, we're going to do our in-person training. We've got go over what's coming up on like Sunday night when we all start getting together and just making sure everybody's on board and knows what to expect for that. And then announcements, and then we're going to check out. So let's go to our connection question. What possibilities do you plan to explore in 2024? And we're going to have a few minutes to do that. But if you would, maybe just type that in the chat box. And I'll be glad to kind of read over some of those as they start coming in. Okay. So think about what you're going to be doing this year. So Cassidy is, well, she says it's lagging on her end with a video, but she's going to leave it off so that she can hear. And Harley says he thinks he's up on the screen right now. And let's see here. All right, we've got Paige. She wants to explore the idea of more career paths for our kids. So that's interesting. Melanie from KCC, the Ohio OHS, looking to explore getting my master's in social work. That's great. Cheryl Scott, getting those FAFSAs completed. Oh my goodness, yes. New service opportunities. And Sam is exploring completing his bachelor's, maybe 2 of them. That's cool. Stephen, make every moment count. Yay. Ivy, different college visits. Those are fun. We do the same things. Emma, these are going pretty quickly. So I'm going to let y'all just kind of scan through and read them. And while that's happening, if anybody would like to raise your hand, we'll try to acknowledge you if anybody wants to speak out loudly. A lot of good things coming up in there. Pursue my master's degree. That's Amisha, one of our new gals. All right. And we're doing good on time. So we've got about 3 minutes here. Would anybody like to just have a conversation or share with a group with your voice what you're thinking about doing? Getting more familiar with all the services that they can provide their students. That's a good one. From Crystal.
We've got such ambitious coaches. There's a lot of people working on themselves this year. I love it.
Yes. And you know, these can be your personal goals. These can be your school goals, just anything. And I'm going to throw this out there just as food for thought. The Kia team, every year we have to come up with one word that is our word for the year. And I write it in my book. I have all the ones I've had since we've started that. And I'll just share with you all what my word of the year is going to be. And that's momentum. Because I think our coaching program has a lot of momentum going on. That means it's moving forward, it's gaining strength. And I hope that momentum stays strong for our cohort 14 and for my personal life too. You know, just health and wellness moving forward with my husband. Some of y'all know we've had some health issues and we're trying to keep our good vibes, good health, that momentum going forward. So something to think about if you all want to think about one word for the, I like that perspective. Yes. So something to think about. Faith. I like that word. Last year was very busy. We know that. Trying to relax a bit and make time for. And I will tell you, coaches, it is different this year because our FAFSA is back to January instead of the fall. But the spring is just really a good time. How many of you all felt like when you came back after Christmas break that you were coming home to your schools? I mean, I love that feeling after y'all appreciate a break, but sometimes it is just so good to get back into the routine and be back with your group. It's like coming home. So the spring is a good time to just feel like you're settling into your nest and learning more about the environment that you're working in and hopefully getting to enjoy the good vibes of being at that school. All right. Well, I think we are at 10:10. We are going to stay exactly on time and I'm going to pass the torch to the next person.
Thank you so much, Tony. I love that that connection. I know we have so many new coaches on today, and it's great for them to, you know, to get a jump start before the in-person training to kind of connect with each other. But love your goals. Great job. So today I have the honor and with much enthusiasm, the ability to introduce our guest speaker for today, and that is Dana Franxman. She's been on the call already, and she's kind of hanging out in the background, but she's going to come to us today with some great information about supporting students with disabilities in as they transition from high school to college, or for those of you that are already serving in a college, how students are supported or should be supported at the college in the college environment. So you can read a little bit about her on this slide. She provided me with this awesome bio. And just disclaimer, Dana used to be my boss when I worked at Gateway Community and Technical College, and she's just great. Not only is she sharp and knowledgeable, but she's also very down to earth and approachable. That's just a few of the things that I admire about her. She also delivers excellent customer service internally and externally to students and community partners. So I'm very glad that she said yes to joining today. Whoop. All right, so Dana, I'm going to let you take it away. Do you have a slideshow that you want to share, or are you just going to talk from the heart to us today?
If I can figure it out, I do have a slideshow to share.
So Dana, what I'll do is I'll stop sharing mine. So then if you want to share yours.
Okay, great. Let me get it.
And we're here to help in any way. So just.
I appreciate that. Let's see. Oh, I think I got it. Are we up?
We can see it, Dana. Looks good.
Awesome. Wonderful. All right. Yeah, this is my first experience presenting through Zoom. So, big learning curve for me today. Karen, thank you for the warm welcome. I am excited to be here, and you were too kind with your words. Full disclosure, I've also worked with Shelley Baker through the years too. So it's definitely a pleasure to be here. I'm excited to help you guys learn about accessibility services. So starting off, I'm going to go over our, okay, now my computer's not working. Okay, there we go. Okay. Okay, so just a quick overview of what I'm going to talk about today. Some background on why our office exists, the students that we serve, and I'm going to spend most of the time talking about the differences between K through 12 and college, because I think that's where the focus really should be. And then a little bit about the process when students are transitioning, a couple of what ifs that I thought were important, and some additional resources that could be helpful for students once they do hit college. And then a couple of things to note as well. And then hopefully we have enough time for some Q&A, because I would really like to talk to you guys. So jumping in, why do we exist? I always jokingly say that we exist because the federal government says that we have to. But more importantly, it's our job to protect the students who have disabilities. We're ensuring their civil rights. And when, we are covered under Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act of 1973 that prohibits discrimination on the basis of disability. And since we are a federally funded institution, we are required to follow through with those rules. And that applies to any public college, university, post-secondary education or vocational education program, or any adult education program. We do also work with adult education since they're on our campus as well. And most importantly, it is illegal and a violation of civil rights to not provide these accommodations. So it's very important that, we reach students and make sure that they're getting what they need. So who do we serve? We serve any student who has a documented and diagnosed disability, documented in the sense that they are able to provide us with the necessary information that we need to provide them with their accommodations. The legal definition of disability is defined as an impairment that greatly limits one or more major life activities. And that could be from anyone, like a student in a wheelchair with mobility issues who has difficulty getting from building to building on campus on time. Or another student may have anxiety and depression, and they have a really hard time getting, out of bed in the morning, getting to class on time. So anything that has a major impact from the time they get up in the morning to the time they try to go to bed at night. And additionally, it's important to note students do not have to have an IEP or 504 plan in high school to qualify for our services, which by the time they get to college really opens the door for a lot of students who may not have traditionally met the criteria for high school accommodations. And these are just some of the types of disabilities that we see more commonly. Everyone that's on here, every bullet point, there's a plethora of, of diagnoses that are inside of these, but where more commonly we see ADHD, ADD, emotional behavioral, mental health disorders, learning disabilities, several students on the autism spectrum with autism spectrum disorder, and then a lot of students with learning disabilities, which often co-presents with your ADHD, ADD, or mental health, emotional behavioral disorders. So many students have more than one diagnosis. I also wanted to mention too that we do work with students who need temporary accommodations. So, you think about students who have a broken arm, broken hand, it's their dominant hand. How are they going to get through the semester? We can help them through that. But also there are students who maybe are going through cancer treatment or have to have some kind of emergency surgery that they can't put off till the end of the semester. So we can help them with accommodations to help them get through the rest of the semester as well. All right, so the good part. So the high school to college transition. To me, this is the most difficult time for a student, this is my opinion. Transitioning from high school to college, especially for students who have had accommodations, is the most difficult time. It's really hard for them to differentiate between what they've learned in high school and what they're accustomed to, and then what is expected of them in college. I think it's difficult for any student in general, but especially ones who have had accommodations in high school. It's very difficult for them to get used to what college is really like. And the main reason for that is the way that the laws are designed. So, K through 12 falls under IDEA. I'm sure some of you or most of you are familiar with this, but K through 12 falls under IDEA, and that focuses on success. The college students, our Accessibility Services Office, fall under the ADA, Title II of the ADA, which focuses on access. So while we want students to succeed and do what we can to help them succeed, we have to be sure that students have equal access to their classes, and we're not guaranteeing success. The success in college falls on the student, which is, a huge difference. And I'll get into some of why that's difficult on the next slide. Another thing that's different and for students is that in K through 12, students identify their students, and the schools identify or initiate the process of determining the eligibility for those students. So in college, though, students are required to self-identify, meaning that they have to reach out to our office in order to receive accommodations. We cannot go out and look for them. They have to come to us. So students are also responsible in college for providing documentation to their institution. And unfortunately, a lot of colleges and universities are not able to offer testing services, but if they do, great. The student should go there if that's what they need. If they need documentation, they should utilize those services. But it's not something that they should count on, so they need to be prepared to provide their own documents. And that can be their most recent IEP with the educational evaluation attached, or the 504 plan with corresponding medical information. They can also get documentation from their doctor and from their doctor's office. And most institutions will have some kind of form that they can get filled out that kind of makes it easier for the doctors. And we have one that we can give to our students if they need if they don't have anything, and they it's just easier for us to give them the form and have it filled out because it has everything that we need for them to get approved for their accommodations. So continuing on, going back to the high school, the accommodations in high school are outlined by the IEP and the 504 plan, and the teachers implement what is needed in the classroom. High schools are also able to modify things. This is where the big differences come in. High schools can modify things such as the curriculum and grading. They can change tests. They can add word banks. They can remove questions on the test. They can change assignments and so on. But in college, we outline the accommodations in a memo, and we either send them to the instructors directly, or the student is responsible for providing that memo to their instructors. And then the students are then responsible for ensuring that their accommodations are implemented. So they were in high school, K through 12, their teachers were taking care of that. They get to college and all of a sudden it's not automatic anymore. And that's a huge learning curve for the students because they have to learn the advocating piece for themselves and learning to talk to instructors, about what their needs are and how can their needs be met. So, and also, when they're talking to their teachers about their accommodations too, they need to know what's going to happen when they need to take a test that has to be proctored. When are they going to be turning in their late assignments, and how are they going to be turning in late assignments if they have extended time on assignments, so stuff like that. And additionally, like college classes, nothing can be altered about the class. So all of these students are responsible for completing the same test and the same assignments. So their students have a lot of difficulty with that too. They're used to, well, my teacher, she took 10 questions off of my test, so I only had to answer 20 questions. But in college, your teacher's not going to do that. They have to be able to finish the same test that everyone else is taking. There isn't, when it comes to some delivery methods though, so if you have a student who has a speech language disability, they may qualify for something like an alternate method of presenting to where they're still doing the same assignment, but maybe they're recording it at home and then showing it to the class or showing it to their professor rather than presenting it to the entire class. They're still doing the same assignment, they're just doing it in a different way. So we can consider some things like that, but we can't actually change the entire assignment for them. And then the next difference has to do with parents. In the K through 12 world, parents have access to all their students' information and are a part of the IEP or 504 process. But in college, we're not allowed to talk to parents without the student being present or without their written consent to do so. And that's just because of federal privacy laws and violating student civil rights when they're considered a college student. And I work with a lot of dual credit students too. So I have 15, 16, 17-year-olds. I do get their permission to talk to their parents because I think that's important. I would want to know what my high school student is doing. But otherwise, if an 18-year-old student doesn't want their parents to know anything about their accommodations, then that's their right to do so. And so that's a huge, huge difference. So when it comes to preparing our students for college, with all these differences, the best thing that we can do to prepare a student and their parents is to inform them of the differences in advance. And that starts with their IEP and 504 plan process. If you have students that you're working with who do have either of those, I highly encourage them to be a part of that process. They need to understand what their diagnosis is, how it affects their learning, and what their accommodations are and what that means, because that information is vital when they get to college, because they're going to be responsible for relaying that information to their college accessibility services office. And it's also helping them learn to advocate for themselves, which is huge. I don't mind when parents come into my office with their student, but I do want the student talking to me, not the parents. So you you have to kind of teach everyone at the same time how to navigate that. Parents are learning just as much as the students are when it comes to college. So, but helping them learn to advocate for themselves is probably the most important thing. And it starts with understanding what they're getting assistance for, what their accommodations are, how that affects them. Because I do, when I work with the dual credit students, a lot of them, they're young and they have zero idea. So it's good for me because I get to help plant the seeds and start educating them. And then that helps with the conversation with their parents too. So I'm kind of going about it in a roundabout way. But it's still, it's very helpful, and it's helping those students learn how to do that. And then it also, also when you're working with students, letting them know there are going to be some differences, and be mindful that there are going to be some differences. Like if a student tells you something about, well, I was doing this in class, or I was allowed to do this in class, and say, well, like in college, it's going to be different. And just being mindful and having that conversation with them and their parents about, all of the differences that they're going to encounter, and planting those seeds early to get them prepared. And this last one seems very, very arbitrary given the conversation, but the biggest difficulty struggle that we have is with students not using their email. And I'm just throwing this in there. It seems weird, but really it's a major struggle with students. They're not used to using it in high school as much. They're not used to sending messages that aren't text style, which can be pretty funny sometimes. And it can be hard to get used to, but once they get to college, their accessibility services office is probably going to be contacting them via email. They're going to miss out on a lot of information if they're not checking it. So if we can help get them, and I do that with my dual credit students too, getting them the habit of checking regularly and sending proper emails as needed is a really good practice for them. So the process, like I said, this is very broad because every college and university across the state, even within our own system, things are different. We're part of a 16 college system, and we are all probably called something different office wise, and we probably all do things differently, but at the end of the day, we're doing the same job. So keep that in mind. But when a student applies and is accepted to the college or university of their choice, what they need to do from that point on, they need to go ahead and contact the accessibility services or disability services office at their institution. They need to do it as soon as possible to get the ball rolling. And then once they figure out what the application process is, they need to go ahead and provide documentation. And then they need to stay on top of it to schedule the meeting to discuss what the appropriate accommodations are going to be. Accommodations are determined on a case-by-case basis for every student. So I always say we might have 5 students in front of us who have ADHD. They're going to have 5 different accommodation plans because everyone is so different. So that's the simple process, but that's usually how it goes. Like our students, we like for them to have a class schedule first, so that they met with an advisor. They know, we have something to plan with them as far as classes, help them understand what it's going to look like. And then we can use that to discuss their accommodations with them. But they will apply, then they'll contact their accessibility office, then they'll provide documentation, and then they'll schedule that meeting to get their plan going for their college classes. And this is just a list of our most common accommodations that we see. Really, it's extended test time. And some of those students do require having a distraction reduced test space or using a separate room for testing. We do offer either human or computer-based test reader. We use the Read and Write program, which you see at the bottom of the screen. We use that program as the computer reader as needed, or we will read. I've read many, many medical tests that I don't understand the words for, but that was always a good time. We do offer test scribe, usually for math class. If a student has, handwriting is not great, or they have motor skill issues, we will scribe for their tests. Use of a laptop for their essay type tests. So if students like, I do need to scribe for a math class, but I can use my laptop for the other class, they're more than welcome to do that. Access to notes from their instructor or a peer classmate. Permission to audio record, so they can either get a digital recorder from our office, or they can use another device such as their laptop, iPad, their phone, their programs they can download to audio record. Preferential seating, so whether it's a student who needs to be in the front of the classroom because they have attention issues, or if there's a student with PTSD diagnosis that needs to feel safe in the back of the classroom, whatever the student needs, we want them to be comfortable in the classroom. And then accessible textbooks in our read and write program. So read and write will read anything on the computer. It's wonderful. We have the subscription from our office, and we allow students access to it, and it will read their textbooks to them. They can follow along with the textbook and listen, depending on their learning style. And it also does other things like help them write papers and stuff like that. It's a really great program. All right, so now our what ifs. There's a couple of scenarios. So I was talking before about students who don't have an IEP or 504 plan. Can they still get accommodations? First thing they're going to do is talk to their accessibility services office at their institution, because that's going to guide where they need to go to get documentation based on what their situation is. So like I said, if testing services are available there, great. Then they should use those services if that's the need. If it's a medical issue, we're going to refer them back to their doctor for the diagnostic information to provide to our office. And then otherwise, we refer students to our Office of Vocational Rehabilitation. It's great. They can help with the testing. They can provide services for equipment. So if a student needed a laptop for their classes, they can provide, there's other computer programs they can provide. They can help with books. So they're a great resource for our students. And also there are other times, and I'm going to use my son, I know he won't care, as an example very quickly, of students who may have not had accommodations in school, but may need them in college. So something else to consider. So my son, he was diagnosed with food allergies when he was 7 months old. We filled out the paperwork all through school. He's in the 9th grade now. His allergies have ebbed and flowed, and but every year we get the paperwork filled out. He doesn't qualify for an IEP or 504 plan. However, when he gets to college, if he goes away to school, there may be a chance that we would have to meet with the office, the accessibility services office, because he may need accommodations when it comes to a food plan, because he won't be able to eat all of their food. We don't want to pay for something that he's not going to be able to use. So what can we do to work around that? Things like that. I don't think a lot of parents consider that, that there are options for their child when it comes to accommodations. So it's always worth just talking to the office and seeing what can be done. He's also colorblind, which we didn't find out till he was in kindergarten. So, he may need accommodations for that for college classes if there's something. So, just different things you don't really think about when they're in, elementary school, middle school, high school. But when they get to college, different things come up, and we want to be a resource to help the students and parents, make sure the students are successful. So next one. I don't need accommodations for every class. Do I have to use them? No. If they need them for math, if they need accommodations for math, but they don't need them for their English class, great. They don't have to use them. They don't have to use them for one particular semester if they don't want to. They're like, you know what? I think I've got it. They're still registered with us, but they don't have to use them unless they absolutely want to. And we ask every semester whether or not they want to use them, to get their permission to send out their information. And, if a student doesn't respond, then we assume that they don't want to use them. And they don't have to if they don't want to. And then lastly, my accommodations are not working for me. What if they're not? So if they're not, they need to contact their office, because I tell students all the time, nothing is written in stone. Everything, we can change it if you need to. We just need to hear from you. Communication is key. All right, additional resources on campus. These are going to vary by institution. I'm just going to tell you what we have, some of the ones we have here at Gateway. We do student success coaching and peer mentors, which student success coaching is mandatory for any of our students who are actually on probation for grades. But any student can utilize student success coaching and peer mentoring. The success coach can work with them. I think it's great for new students because they will work with them on time management skills. They'll work with them on study skills. And it's just a good person for them to connect with outside of our office, even because they don't want to see us all the time. So having someone else to go to talk to, and they can meet with them weekly at first if they want to, and it's going to be the same with counseling too, as far as when they want to meet, but it's whenever the student needs to meet is when they'll meet with them. Tutoring is free for all of our students. I always say the best students are the ones who use tutoring. They're going to have, their grades are always higher across the board for the most part. Starting with tutoring, even if you feel like you understand it, I recommend students go and talk to the tutors. It's free at every campus, and we do have it available online for times that campus is closed or for subjects that aren't covered by the on-campus tutors. And then we also, while we can't diagnose anyone or do testing on campus, we do have a licensed counselor who's available for free. She can meet with the student weekly, bi-weekly, once a month, once a semester, whatever they need her for. They're here. So all of these are good services for students to look for when they're on campus, just to have some additional support. And a couple things to note is that accommodations are not retroactive. So please have your students register early. They, like I was saying before, as soon as they're accepted, they need to be contacting the office. Some students do wait. But they need to know that those accommodations are not retroactive. They're not going to start until the day they meet with the Accessibility Services office. So if they've already missed some assignments, those assignments are lost, essentially. And the instructor may allow them to make them up or turn them in late, but it's going to start from the day that we notify the instructor, which is the day that we meet with them. It's especially important for any students who are hearing impaired or visually impaired because there are services we may need to arrange, such as an ASL interpreter or transcription services, Braille, printed materials, and we need time to get those together. So we would need the student to register so we're aware we can meet their needs in an appropriate time frame. And then always students to reach out with us with questions because we want them to be successful. We're here for their access, but we are also here for their success. We really want them to be successful. So I think I talked pretty quick, but that's it.
Thank you so much, Dana. That was awesome.
You're welcome.
That was great information. I was kind of looking at the chat and it was blowing up with just a lot of like aha moments, and this is helpful. Now we are limited on time,
Okay.
unfortunately. So
That's okay.
I do want to ask a couple of things of you.
Yeah.
One, are you able to provide that slideshow to us or something, even if in a PDF form, so that I can share it out for coaches to refer to, or is this sort of a
No, I will send you a clean copy. I'll send you a clean copy of it.
That would be great. So those of you, I
Sure.
know many questions were coming in about, can we get a copy of this? And you can refer back to it. Based on the information you shared, my 3 takeaways were: be proactive.
Yes.
Understand that it's not a one size fits all,
Yes.
for every student. It depends on the limitations or the challenge. It depends on the type of class, whether the format of the class, is it a lecture, is it a lab, is it a English, math? So it takes some time to really get these accommodations right for students.
Yes.
And so knowing that whether you are in a high school working with a student and family with someone with a disability, or you're on the college side and somebody walks into your office, whether it has nothing to do directly with advising or whatever, just kind of understanding how this all works. And anytime that you can help a student build self-advocacy skills, you're doing a wonderful thing, because that's hard for anyone, right?
It is,
I
yes.
still struggle ordering a pizza. So, this is a big deal. So my apologies to coaches for not having time for you to ask questions directly, but I'm going to do this. Is once she shares the slideshow, I'll include it in my email later today. And if you have specific questions, Dana, would you mind if I emailed you some coach questions that you
No,
could
sure.
maybe respond to down the road? So send me your questions. You can put them in the chat. It might be easier just to send me an email, and then I'll just kind of put those together and email those to Dana and get those answers out to you later. So my apologies again on the timing, but thank you so much. If everybody could just sort
Absolutely.
of say thank you very quick, and then the time went so fast.
Yeah, it really did.
Thank you so much,
Thanks for
Dana.
having
Thanks,
me.
Dana.
Thank you so much,
Bye.
Dana.
Thanks so
Thank
much,
you.
Dana. You were great.
Thank you, Dana.
Thank you.
And lastly, guys, I want to just share that there is an exciting opportunity for coaches, high school or college. If you are really passionate or interested in providing even more supports for students in your schools with disabilities, our program, the College Coaches Program, was approved to start providing pre-ed services through the Office of Vocational Rehabilitation. We are very much in the pilot and building phase right now, but I'm hoping that there are a few of you on this call today that are like, yes, that's me. I want to work with Karen. I want to get this up and going so I can better support. Please just send me an email and just say, I want to be part of this. Even if you're not sure, but you want to learn more, we are going to have sort of a couple of series of meetings about this, and no obligation. If you don't want to, it's all good, but we would love to have you participate. And I'd love to get your thoughts and ideas about how to best roll this out in our program. So thank you. Sorry, I went over.
Okay, and I think now we have Carmen is going to introduce our reflection questions. Carmen, you ready to roll?
All right. I need to get that moved. Just if you can move it up here. So at your site, how do you come to know a student that has a disability? What has been your experience with students with disabilities so far? And how might you approach coaching a student differently if you know they have a disability? So my son was on a 504 plan because of vision, but I don't think most of his teachers knew that in high school, especially. So I had to make phone calls sometimes. That's on the parent end. So that's how this parent feels. So I was kind of a little bit passionate about finding out who had an IEP and 504. And that was also because of my education background as well.
And we're actually going to send you into breakout rooms to discuss this more in depth.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. But thank you, Carmen. That gives us such good context that you have your own personal experiences with it. So if you guys will just give me a second, I'm going to put you in breakout rooms and I'll share these questions in the chat so you have access to them. Okay.
And we are breaking out into ambassador teams. So do we need to copy and paste these questions in, or are they going to still be able to see those, Emily?
We need to copy and paste them. And that was something I didn't
Okay.
do ahead of time.
That's
so
okay.
I'm going to do that before I jump into my breakout room.
Let me know what I can do to help.
Okay. Actually, Karen, would you mind trying, because like now when I'm trying to do it quickly, I'm just moving the text box around. Would you care to copy these and put them in the chat?
I'll do it now. Yes.
Thank you.
And will college level coaches also be already in the breakouts? Forgive me for.
Yes, they should
Okay.
be. And there may be a couple people hanging out that aren't assigned. Oh, so
Okay.
Clara just got here and I need to assign her to her own breakout room. But if I missed anybody, feel free to jump in.
And
Okay.
ambassadors, once I click this button to post these questions, you may want to copy and paste them just in case you can't see them in your breakout room. I don't mean to make it complicated, but let's see. Let me get rid of that.
You can broadcast them too.
All right.
Like when you go under breakout rooms and it says broadcast, that'll send it to all the rooms.
Okay.
And now I'm just trying to figure out how I join my breakout room. Maybe I have to stop sharing my screen.
I learned something new today. Oh, you can only do so much. Oh.
Well, welcome back, everybody. I hope you had, I know we had a really, rich discussion in our breakout room, and I hope all of you did as well. We are now moving on to our 6-minute break. And it's 6 minutes because that's how long the Cozy Winter Day guided imagery is. So I found this super cute guided imagery that's, it's geared towards kids, but grown-ups need to have some kid fun sometimes too. So it's going to guide you through just sort of a mental relax. Somebody needs to mute.
Oh, sorry.
So if you want to stay on, I'll be guiding us through that. If not, feel free to take your 6 minutes and we will see you back at 11:03.
Thanks, Emily.
Yep. And out somewhere between 7 and 8 a.m. on Sunday morning.
Thank you, Emily. And I just realized that I wasn't recording all of that wonderful information, but I am going to be sending out my email to all coaches that has the slideshow in it with the links and some of that information. But feel free if I may not have the recording of the session in that because it does take a little bit of time to get that taken care of and uploaded to YouTube, but feel free to, forward your questions directly to Emily because she probably is the one that knows the answer. Or you can just reply to the email when I send it out and I'll do my best to get you those answers. But mini grants. So I just wanted to remind everyone that the mini grant window is still open. It's open through March 15th. And I've already received several proposals and have approved several proposals, and they are awesome. And I saw that Joseph was on the call today, and I did not ask if it would be okay for me to talk about this particular proposal, but I hope it's okay, Joseph. But Joseph is at the college. He is at Somerset, I believe. Is that correct? I believe that's right. Correct me if I'm wrong, but noticed that the nursing students there had to pay for their own pins when they graduate, which is a big deal. To have that pin showing that you've achieved that accomplishment. And so decided to use the mini grant to purchase pins for the nurses. And it didn't, it didn't come up to be $800, but it was a great use, I think, of the mini grant. So remember, each of you have the opportunity to submit a mini grant up to $800. You can only submit one. If you have multiple coaches at your school, yes, you can kind of combine that, but it's $800 per. The deadline is March 15th. You will use your requisition link that you used for purchasing your gear, you used to purchase your business card order, your office supplies. If you no longer have that or can't find it, just let me know. You can, Rachel, Carmen, or myself can send you that really quickly to get that going. But there is lots of there's lots of information out there about sort of the pre-planning. There's a guide and things like that. So I'll probably include that again on my email. Last thing I want to say about mini grants is I am holding a drop-in mini grant info session Friday, January 26th from 10 to 11 Eastern time. And the link to that meeting is in the slideshow. And then again, I'll put it in my little wrap up email later. So if you just have a quick question, this is a great opportunity. You can just drop in sometime in that hour. Or if you want to stay for the whole thing, that's fine too. Maybe you just need some TLC, kind of hand holding a little bit to walk through it. And I can help you with that as well. So, so hope to see anybody there that still has questions or concerns about the mini grant.
And Karen, folks are asking a link for the mini grant and a link for the Zoom meeting. I'm assuming when you send out your slides for this, that would be included.
Yes. So just to clarify, the link to the Zoom meeting, the drop-in info session is in the slideshow, but yes, I'll pull it out also and put it in that email so you can kind of easy access. In order for you to apply for the mini grant itself, you will use the requisition link that you used in your welcome email when you first started your position. That's the same one that you said, oh, I need to order gear. I need to order from Reese some shirts. It's that same requisition link that you'll use, but you'll select mini grant button on that, and that'll open up all those questions. But if you're like, I don't know where that is, I can't find it, send me an email and I'll copy and paste your unique link. So there's not one, it's not a one size fits all. Everybody gets their own requisition link. So, but among Carmen, Rachel, and myself, we can get those out to you quickly. I hope that was helpful. Can I send a Zoom reminder of this mini grant session? Yes, I should be able to do that. I'll make a note on that day to kind of send a reminder that day, but it'll also be in that email. So sorry. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. And thank you for sharing that information about the pins for the nurses. That's awesome. So it is almost tax season. You're going to want that W-2 ASAP. I wanted to briefly go over how you can access that. NKU will mail you a paper copy, but you can access the electronic copy once it's complete. You should have received an NKU username and email when you first started, and the instructions to log in and set up your password. Some of you are brand new and you're still waiting on that. So just keep patiently waiting. You're going to get it in the next few days. If you do not have this information, reach out to me. I would be happy to get that for you. We can do a Zoom. I can help you set up your password. Or if it's been forever since you've logged in and you're like, I just can't remember, and you need help resetting your password, I would also be happy to help you with that. But you're going to go to nku.edu, and there is a quick links tab all the way to the right. And this will look a little bit different on your computer versus your phone. But I made pictures of the buttons and kind of put it on here. So when you hit that quick links, a bunch of different options are going to pop up. You're going to want to hit this My NKU button. So that is where it's going to ask you to log in with your username or password, or it'll ask if you need login help and it lets you like reset things. You'll select employee. You're going to have the option general or employee. If you're on your computer, both of those are going to be listed. If you're on your phone, it's only going to say general, and there's an arrow to the far right that you'll click, and employee will drop down under general, and you can click on that. And then a bunch of more buttons are going to pop up. So you're going to click on My Forms to actually get your electronic W-2. And you can also change your banking information. If you get direct deposit and you change banks, you can go on here and print your pay stubs if you need to. I encourage you to go on there and explore it for things other than your W-2, just in case you need it. And I'd be happy to help if you are having trouble getting on there.
All right. Thank you, Rachel. Would you, I'm not sure, Carmen, are you able to do our checkout, or do you want Rachel to do it? I think Carmen might be.
What? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So what is calling you to act from today's webinar? We can put that in the chat. We've had a lot of great information today, and thank you, Emily, for working so hard on this webinar. I want to see some answers. Okay. I really like learning about OBR because I didn't know much about it until I started this job. We have something called 3 Corners in Edmonson County, and I learned so much from them. It's really a great thing to share with your students. Okay. Oops. So Cassidy wants to reach out and make a better relationship with those students that have an IEP or 504. As a parent of a 504 student, I really appreciate that. So Janice has been attending RIIT, I think I'm saying that correctly, meetings in her area, trying to get everything she can for the special population. And so I'm glad that the meeting helped you today. Emma wants to ask the guidance counselor at her school if any of the core students have IEPs and 504 plans, and that's a great person to go to as your counselor, because they should have full access to those IEPs and 504s. So it depends on your access on IC, but a lot of times you'll see that they have it, but you don't know what their accommodations are. Oh, we got a lot of great comments. So David Thorpe, he thinks that he'd like to find a better method for screening students to see how he can help them. That's great too. Okay, Emily, I'm not sure how we're doing on time here, so I'm going to turn it over to you.
Yes, so we are at 11:31, but I like seeing these answers, coming in. So I don't mind hanging out for another couple minutes to check out with folks that want to check out. But if you don't have that extra, couple minutes, that's fine too. I want to just say thank you for coming today, and we look so forward to seeing a lot of you in just a few days in Owensboro. So Carmen, do you want to continue to go over these that people are saying, or I can? Either way.
I can do that. I can do that. Like if it'll pop back up for me, there we go.
And I just wanted to remind everybody, I'm sorry, that when we go, that the survey will launch. So just wanted to remind everybody. So it's just a real quick survey. I'm also going to paste the link just in case something happens technologically on your end or my end, so that you can fill out that survey. So my apologies, Carmen, for interrupting.
Thank you.
No, you're great. Okay, so Melissa looks forward to helping students with disabilities to get the help they need. We got a lot of people excited about Owensboro. I'm so glad to see that. It would help if my vision was better too. So. I love this group. I feel like everybody appreciated today's webinar and got something from it. I know there's a lot of concerns about the weather, and I promise that we're watching it.
I just saw Melanie's comment about how it's only her 3rd day at her school and she's excited to meet with students. That's so fun.
Yeah, and it's Marlena's 3rd day, and I was fortunate enough to get to meet her yesterday. I know she's going to rock this position.
Hey, Carmen, I'm so happy to see that you're out in the school today.
Oh, thank you. You know how much I love it. I love getting to see you guys.
I know.
But that is a fair point. If you're concerned.
She's 12.
Okay, my daughter's 14. So maybe
Okay, so maybe they can get together then.
yes, okay, that might be perfect. No, at the activity hall that we're going to be in, there is a little commuter lounge for like people who commute to Kentucky Wesleyan College. It's got a TV and a couch and like a little mini fridge and a microwave. And so my plan was to let my daughter kind of hang out in that space and do some of her schoolwork. Because we homeschool. So with her, so
Right.
if that makes you feel a little more comfortable knowing that there is that space there.
Right. Well, my husband will actually be driving us down. So, I mean, like, while we're at our meeting, she can stay with him. That will be a problem. I just wanted to make sure that it was okay for the room for her, to let you know that she'll be there.
Okay.
She may be there.
Okay. So as long as, if you didn't tell me you wanted a king bed, then you're going to be assigned 2 queen beds. So that should work for y'all, right?
Yes, that'll be perfect. Thank you.
Okay, Chloe's talking about checking in. So I should be there, Chloe. If you're still on the call, I should be there by 3 o'clock. So kind of hanging out in the lobby. But if you just check in at the hotel, they're expecting us and they will have your name assigned to a room. So even if one of us wasn't there, you'd be able to check in just like you would at any other, time you might have gone and stayed at a hotel.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right, Harley, you're coming in at midnight? That is late, but no, the desk is open 24/7, so you should be able to check in at midnight.
Yeah, hopefully. Otherwise, I might have to practice some of my stealth camping skills in the parking lot.
No parking lot camping, Harley. You should be able to check in.
Bloody Sunday.
I agree, Cassidy. I don't even like stepping out my door to go to my car right now.
Yeah, I'm the same way. If I can stay in the heat, that's where I want to be.
Hey, I feel that. I actually wore a proper jacket today for the first time.